Welcome back to another Operation Media Briefing. We're going to have a two-part video series today, the first of which talking about probability, I know everyone's favorite subject, math, and how it pertains to playing cards, and the second video focusing more on the line of play and ensuring you understand what that really means in the context of playing card games, focusing on Gundam Card Game. So what I'm going to do is I built two decks on purpose to kind of demonstrate how bad the decks can really be ran and why it's important to do that. Now, you probably ask yourself, Sal, I already know the rules about deck building in Gundam Card Game. It's 8 to 12 pilots, no more than 6 bases, no fewer than 4, and a handful of blah, 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 blah. Good. If you know that, that's perfect. It's a good starting point, and we're going to show you why that matters, and particularly I'm going to give you some actual data to demonstrate why we do it this way, and also demonstrate the ability of using that probability to see what you would draw on your first few cards and kind of give you an idea of what things look like. So we're going to bring up Duel Frontier. I built two purposely bad decks to kind of show you how numbers can fit in this game and what to look out for. So one sec here. Okay. So what I did with this deck, it's a blue-green age deck that I was playing around with before the new type challenge season 2 was, just for fun. I liked age, I liked the gimmick of ramping and stuff like that, but I tinkered with it enough to kind of make it go, okay, when it's not optimized, how badly does this deck misfire? So it looks pretty simple on paper, right? You know, we have, our main core cards, we have our pilots, but I did something a little different with this deck. I ended up adding extra bases and taking out early game cards. And to show you how much that changed, so all I did was I removed 3 Ares cards and added 3 Diva cards. And we can take a look and see what that has. I mean, on paper, it looks fine, right? We have our curve that looks good. We have our cost distribution. We have a level distribution. That's that nice bell curve that we see. So you would kind of go, well, how bad does that mess up our game? Now let me show you. This site here, Duel Frontier, has some interesting other sites give you this information, but this is one of the few sites that you can do that. Calculate odds. You do have to pay a higher tier to use it on Duel Frontier, but if you need to, look up Game Theory. Not the great YouTube channel that talks about it, but Game Theory as it pertains to probability in various games. Like, it's usually used in games like blackjack and craps and stuff like that, but you can you can tune it to use it for things like trading card games. So if I were to ask you how many bursts do you have in your deck, could you tell me that off the top of your head? Probably not, unless you're really good about details. How many pilots do you have? What's the likelihood are you going to have a base card in your hand? Most people wouldn't know that off the top of their head without having this type of information, which is why I'm showing you why this matters. Because now that you look at this, you have a chance, over half the chance, that you're going to have a base in your starting hand. And the fact that I have no starting cards, realistically 20% chance, not even 2. You can kind of see where I'm getting at here with some of this stuff here. The other thing that I want to tell you is that, we've got some other problems with pilot cards. We have the ability of getting a pilot. So we'll close that out, and then we'll show you what the test hand looks like with this deck. So this is the initial card draw. This is actually not bad for this type of deck because we have the cards that we're looking for. So the hand isn't too bad. So now we'll do a full simulation with the hand. We'll keep it. And then now let's see what happens when I try to draw my first card. Oh no, we already kind of have an issue here. Now that I'm starting to draw cards, we're coming into the problem of, well, I don't really have anything to play until turn 3. So the idea that you want to stick to those staples really matter because since I took out my early game cards, you can see that. So you're probably going, well, duh, this is one of the things to say. No, take that with a grain of salt. This is just for testing theory and all that, just to give you a hand, because this is a base level that we all need to talk on, because when it comes to deconstructed a deck to understand its pieces, this is why we need to be able to kind of this out. So let's go ahead and I'll show you my other deck. So what I did was that I tuned it to go, well, I'm going to try to sneak in 2 more pilots. I'm also going to sneak in a different card for ramping and kind of see what that does. So in this deck, all I did differently was I put in some Wing Gundam bird modes, Hero Yuis, just so I can have something to play and two more, because it's like, what does it make a difference that I'm playing with 2 extra pilots than the normal, right? So let's go ahead and calculate our odds and take a look at this. So as we're looking here, I have a better chance now that I put my Ares back into this deck. I have a 54% chance I'll see something that I can play on turn 2. But we're also seeing that my burst triggers have gone down because I put in cards that didn't, which were the last deck I had were the bases. Now I don't have that. I do have 14 pilots in that. And now that we're taking a look at it, yeah, chances of me having 2 pilots in hand has drastically gone up, which is not necessarily great in a starting hand. You want to draw into them later, but the fact that I almost have a 50% chance compared to my other deck that is optimized for pilots, if you take a look at how many pilots I have here, it dropped dramatically. I only have a 25% chance of seeing 2 pilots in my starting hand, which is where we wanted to be, as opposed to this deck where we calculate the odds. It nearly doubles. Just with 2 pilots, it nearly doubles the chance that I get 2 pilots in my starting hand, which is not good in this game. The bursts look fine. We are able to trigger the shields, and we do that. So let's take a look and see what our test hand looks like. So I don't have anything to play on turn 1. So we mulligan, and then we take a look, and it's still looking pretty bad. So even though this could be a whole thing, let's see what happens on a third. Still not looking great. So mulligan, still not seeing a great early card in my hand. We'll have to keep it this time. And then we'll draw a first card, and I'm stuck. I'm really stuck with not having anything to play. So using stuff like this can kind of give you a feel of how this will go without having to dig out all your cards all the time, because then you have to reshuffle. I'm not saying that randomization on computers are 100% great either, but this will save you some time and at least give you a feel of what that needs to go. But as you can tell, the deck isn't running that well. So let me go ahead and bring out a deck that is optimized, but we'll go ahead and pull out this Barbados Rush deck, which is pretty popular among folks, and we'll show you what a good deck looks like. So this is highly optimized. I believe this one was one of the top decks that we've seen out of regional played. So let's calculate our odds. Now this is a really good deck because there's a couple things I like about this. One, the chance of us seeing a pilot, 2 pilots in our starting hand is very low. Our chance of getting early cards to play is very high. And the amount of base cards in our hand is only about 42%, which is great. And we have high burst triggers, which in this game are amazing to have. So now that we've seen all that, we can go ahead and test our hand around the full simulation. So not the greatest hand, but now if we mulligan, let's see if we can do something better. A little bit better. Having this will end up helping, so we'll keep that hand because we mulligan, and then we'll draw our first card. And still not bad. We've got our gym on turn 1. We've got, if you end up getting the extra, you can play this on turn 1, play this on turn 2. If not, still not a bad start. You have your Mikazuki that you can throw on it later. But overall, this is kind of what you want to see with it. So understanding the finer points of your deck when you break it down can help you when you have to fix the deck later. If we were to look at one more deck, we'll go over one more. We'll pick something that's a little bit more. We have this Hiroshima qualifier deck. And let's take a look at this deck and see if we see the same things. We're looking for only 1 pilot card, the probability of a second one being low. We're also looking at high burst effects and less bases in the card and high starting cards in our hand. So let's calculate the odds. And what do you know? Looks pretty good. We have 60% chance of drawing a card. A nice job of only pulling 1 pilot in our starting hand. Very low chance. Even a better chance of not pulling a base in our hand because we want those in the shield area if possible. And our bursts look good. We have 17 bursts, so even a long range deck has all that. And we'll just test this hand one more time. So this is probably as good as it's going to get, to be honest. We'll just keep this hand and go there. So as you can tell, there's a lot of testing to be done with your decks outside of just building them. Like I said, if you know exactly what our metrics are, you can start breaking down what your deck needs to be. start understanding why these cost distributions and level distribution charts matter in the regard of understanding how consistent your deck will be. And we'll save that for the next video, talking about what it means to play things on the curve and lines of play and other terminology we'll use to work on the Gundam card game. With that, signing off for now. Check out part 3 of our Let's Get Better Together series.